following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one: concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, I said, what's wrong with it? There's no such thing as an improper way. I know the law. I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You know my registration? To verify, I use the seatbelt as a ring to profile.
To be fair, take out your keys.
Hey, you can record for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call the supervisor? I'm walking through shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah? And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they can never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday, number 418. The West Coalition has been fighting for justice for Tyrone West, who was brutally murdered by the Baltimore police for 418 weeks. We are also calling for justice for his case and for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay, and thank you, Brother Ben. And also, I want to thank everybody that's tuning in tonight, because we know that you could have been anywhere. But the fact that you're here with us tonight, I just want to give you thanks. And this is a club that no one signs up for our loved ones to be brutally executed. And not only are we fighting for accountability, and to me, what accountability looks like, we're not just fighting for my brother, like he said, all the victims of police brutality, murder. It's just horrible. This is the club we never asked to be in. And not only are we fighting for accountability, but accountability to me looks like them reopening these cases. Because guess what? They should have never closed these cases. It's just so interesting on how dirty the system is when it comes down to our loved ones being murdered. You know, they don't want to prosecute killer cops, but then all they want to talk about is reform. And don't get me wrong, reform is definitely needed, but that is not the key to everything. That is not like, that's a part of it, but it's all like a piece of a pie. That's one ingredient. We need many more ingredients to actually bake this thing the way we want it. You get what I'm saying? So just giving us one ingredient to a recipe for a pie, we're not going to have a complete pie unless we have all the ingredients. And to me, the biggest ingredients is reopening these cases. And as you saw on the video that we play every week, that is the first killer, Ruiz, out of the 17 that brutally executed my brother Tyrone West. This was my big brother. He was like a father, my best friend. He was a father, grandfather, an artist, the first grandchild. You know, he was loved. And it's crazy and sad part, to this day, we still don't have accountability. And that breaks my heart. So tonight, we have special guests in queue. And like I said, I don't wish anyone into this nightmare. I call it a nightmare. And I'm gonna wrap my arms up and wrap my arms around my sister, Jean. Then she's been fighting for her daughter, India. I'm gonna wrap my arms around my sister, Angel, who's been fighting for her brother, and wrap my arms around her sister, Shantae, who's fighting for their brother, Timothy. You know, nobody deserves to be murdered. And tonight, I want to give a big virtual hug and to a new family member that never asked to be in a blood club where our loved one is murdered. And it's my sister Latoya. Her son Xavier Hill was actually murdered this year, y'all, in January this year by state troopers in Charlottesville, VA. And this is horrible. And he was 18 years old. I have an 18-year-old son. And I couldn't imagine, don't ever want to imagine nothing happening to my babies, none of us. I didn't imagine nothing happening to my big brother, but to this day, we still have no accountability. The case was closed before it even was open. And the fact that my family been out here fighting nonstop, it ain't like, oh, we waited like 2 years or 2 months, and that's fine. In some cases, this is so draining. Take as much time as you need. But the fact that from day one, when they murdered my brother, the West family, we immediately was on top of it from day one. We formed the West Coalition. We formed West Lansing just to hold and keep the light always on our loved one, always on Tyrone West, and not just on him, but on all the victims of police brutality and murder. And real fast, I just learned that how hard Hopkins students, they did the setting and everything. They were saying no against private police, which they should. Because we have enough of killer cops. We don't need any more police that are covered by the Officer Bill of Rights, and have all these coverages that we don't even know about. You know, that everybody supports them and cover them, but when our loved one was murdered, we can't get no help. It's like a closed case before it even opened. It's just sad. And to think about, and the reason why we don't need private police, because the killer that played a major role He was from Morgan State University private police. David Killer Lewis. So when I think about George Floyd, who sat on the neck, George Floyd, who actually had Derek Chauvin sitting on his neck, and he was screaming for his dead mama. That hit me on so many levels, because the same exact thing and even worse happened to my brother Tyrone West. That video where you see Ruiz is out of control, and has victims. At the time my brother was murdered, we met 6 victims that we knew of. But then for me to learn that he had 18 additional complaints, what about the ones we don't know about? That said, you know what, I don't want retaliation from the police, I'm not gonna call it, and he beat me up, he did this, he violated me, but I'm still breathing, I'm gonna keep walking. What about those victims that we don't know about? And this is a repeat violent offender who brought the other. These 2 that started, Ruiz and Chapman, they brought the other 15 killers in. And the other 15, they didn't come in and say, well, you know what, let's not kill one unarmed man. You know, somebody stop. Even all the witnesses on Kickmore Causeway, they tried. And we just came up with my brother's 8th-year commemoration on July the 18th of this year. And like my brother said, we've been fighting out here now for 418 weeks, 2,926 days. I count down every day. I wouldn't wish nobody to this. And the crazy part, last year, the video surfaced of Killer Ruiz that was kneeling down on the guy's neck and had his gun. That video surfaced. It was a year anniversary as of yesterday. It surfaced on yesterday, right? But it came up on my memory on yesterday, but the video literally went viral on Murder Inc. a year ago. And what did they do? They interviewed me, and then the police response was, oh, we're gonna do a thorough investigation. Nothing thorough. So don't believe their lies. They'll tell you that just to stall you. These are called stall tactics. Let's be clear. Stall tactics, right? They said that they was going to investigate. I ain't hear nothing. It's been a whole damn year. You still investigating them? I ain't hear nothing. All I know is this animal is still working for the Baltimore City Police Department. He's a sergeant. All I know is he's married to Michelle Battle, who's a prosecutor. And this is just like, this is the foolishness. But I can go on all day, but I won't, because I respect my guest's time. But this is the reason why I said all that. We're sick of the Doug and Pony show. We're sick of it. We're sick of it. And like my sister Ishtar, you know, she's not impure, whatever, but she always says every case matters. And that's very important to me. Because every case, till we make every case matter, nothing's going to matter. It's going to be the Doug and Pony show. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. We all are sick of the Doug and Pony show. So I'm praying that when we go to DC on August the 28th, and this is something that is led by impacted families. This ain't no Al Sharp. That was going to stop right at Al Sharp. I don't even want to say this man's whole name. Reverend Al, I'll say that. Reverend Al and all the poverty camps. And to some people, he's a hero because he had fought for them, and that makes him feel good. Maybe I probably wouldn't have felt the same way if he would have fought for my family, but then I probably would have, because I'm a fair person. Because the same way you put into a fight for one family, not just for the cameras, you need to do that for every family. It ain't about just if some case make a national news, then you want to do the Doug and Pony show and parade around the family. It's not about that. And that's why I'm so happy tonight to bring you my brother Brock for Mass Action. I met this brother a real brother that literally is putting on and groundwork, that really cares about the families and things of that nature. And just seeing him stand up and speak up about police brutality really touches my heart, especially because I was impacted. It was my brother that was murdered. It wasn't Brock's brother, it was my brother that was murdered. It was my niece and nephew's father that was snatched. It was, you know, our loved one. Just like my queen sister, her son was murdered, you know, by state troopers, and she's on here tonight. So, but we need everybody literally to come out on the 28th to DC, because what happens is our message needs to be very clear that we demand them to reopen the case. Reopen all the cases, not just one case, not 2 or 3, every case, because guess what? when families go to sleep at night, the ones that get to feel like how maybe George Floyd family, they got a little bit of justice. You know, Derek, he got 20-something plus years or whatever. We don't know what that feels like. We don't even know what it feels like for somebody to get 22 days behind bars for all over. Even though that's not enough, but it's a start. But every family needs to feel that, oh my God, that thing of accountability, that he did an act, whereas though a criminal act, he's a criminal, send him to jail. Every family needs to feel that. My brother was murdered by criminals on payroll serving, and they wasn't serving to protect me and you. That's what I call cops. Criminals on payroll serving. It is a difference from, I guess, what you would have to be a so-called good police officer. And a good police officer, the few that's out there, they are not in a costume. They're taking their job serious, and they're not going to stand around and watch somebody be brutalized, and they do nothing. That's just not it. And we see what happened at the Capitol, you know, with the Trump foolishness, and now they got all the testimonials, and they got officers coming up there and talking this, that, and the third. But it's just sad. And for them to relate and say that was a riot, no, that was a mob, a hit mob. That was a mob, be clear. Like, so what they're doing is setting it up so when real protesters that have lost loved ones, that don't fight no foolishness and do no stuff like that, we get murdered for holding up a protest sign. They can throw all these things, but they're trying to line up. They're lining up something for people that loved ones were murdered by police officers that go out there and say, you know what, enough is enough, and there's something burned down or something, then they want to give us that. Say, no, that was a terrorist act. Call a terrorist a terrorist. Call a mob a mob. That was a mob. That was a terrorist act. But no further ado, like I said, I can go on all night. I want to bring my brother Brock up, and I want him to tell us the importance of the 28th, what's happening, and give us all the details we need to know. Because guess what? I need Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. This is going to be, we know it's on a Saturday, and I know a lot of my family, they wanted to shut it down early, like in the streets, shut them down, all that. But more importantly, we still can shut them down. We still can shut them down. Once they see our voices, once they hear our voices and hear our message, one cause, one purpose, one fight, they can't take us like that, no matter if it's on a Friday, a Monday, or a Saturday. Let's shut them down, hit them where it hurts, and demand that they reopen these cases. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah, how y'all doing? I'm Brock from Mass Action. I'm outside here, so excuse me if I'm swatting some mosquitoes. But I thank you, Tawanda, once again for kind words and introduction, but more importantly, just for the fight you've been leading all these years now, and everyone else here who supported that fight every Wednesday. So, you know, each one to me is another victory, because it's it's a testimony to the determination of all of you, especially Tawanda, to draw a line in the sand, and to me that's at the heart of August 28th.
Hey, Rob,
Yeah, can you hear me?
breaking up, is there a spot? There you.
Bill, I can hear from, maybe that's on your end, because Brock sounds crystal clear. I think something going on your end, because it's not Brock. I can hear him crystal clear.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Bill, but
That's you, Bill.
I could be breaking up too. I don't know. I don't have another spot to plug in, so I hope this
No, you're
works.
good. It's big. No connection is poor.
All right. Well, yeah. Basically, the determination of the fighting families that I think Tawanda is a great representative of is what's fueling this action. And to me, I believe it's a turning point in this movement that we've been seeing over the last 7 years. It's kind of led up to this point, really, which is those who have been most directly impacted by the atrocities that have shocked the country and the world, such that, 30 million people took the streets over last summer. They've not only have they had to suffer the pain of the loss of their loved one and the indignity of the lies and the cover-ups of the government that's supposed to be upholding everyone's rights, supposed to be our, the example of what we should look up to and try to be. Not only that, but also many others have kind of jumped into this fight kind of almost as a stepping stone to personal career advancement or personal prestige or whatever it might be, leaving these families in the background when really they're, in my opinion, the heartbeat and spine of this movement, and have to be at the center of this fight. To me, this is what this action is kind of trying to correct in terms of the pattern of what we've seen of protests that have taken place. And that's not to downplay the importance of the protests. I believe without the protests, we wouldn't be at this point. But I believe we could be much further than we are right now if the families had been in the center of all these protests nationally and their demands, which one of the basic demands, which you would think is elementary, prosecution of the police and jailing killer cops, isn't even a demand that's raised at a lot of these protests, from people who, in their sophistication, they think, it's almost a passé demand or, ineffectual. But to me, it's just an elementary, basic, first thing that you can do in a situation where, someone is killed unjustly is whoever's responsible needs to be held accountable. In this case, it's a representative of the government, which makes it even more of an atrocity. Because, especially if you've been given a gun and a badge, you really should be held to a higher standard, not a lower standard, when you take a life or whatever, use, force. So, we're basically calling out the elephant in the room, and the families can explain it better than anyone else, the depths of the corruption, the violence, the disrespect that happens, and then not only during the event but afterwards as you're trying to seek justice. So a lot of families' eyes have been opened like they never believed they would have been. There's many, in this society that might be very critical of this government, how it's run, but and might have had this happen to them. But regardless, whatever your walk of life you were in before this tragic event happens, like, there's a pretty common theme that comes in the aftermath, which is, deep distrust and even, extreme opposition to what's going on in this country, this so-called democracy we live under. So to me, like, I'm not an impacted family, but I just wanted to speak to that question because it's come up a lot of times about, what role does anyone have in this fight who isn't directly impacted? But to me, like, the main thing is to seek justice for the impacted, which is really justice for all. It's the only way we can really uphold the principle of justice, is to deal with it when it's trampled. You can't speak on it in the abstract or in some kind of legislative scheme that you might have. The proof is in the pudding. No matter what laws you pass, are you gonna even enforce them? And that's the other issue. And you know, I'm a big fan of Malcolm X. If anyone who's read or studied his speeches, like he always made the comment that no new civil rights legislation was needed. You know, you have all the laws on the books to deal with these crimes. Same with the police murders. No new legislation really is needed. You know, all they're really arguing is how to make it easier. But really, you have all the legislation you need. Murder is already illegal. That's been well established. So, we just want to cut through a lot of the red tape and a lot of the sophisticated arguments that are designed to disguise the truth. You know, that, you know, it's really a political reason why people are being, why police are not being held accountable for the crimes they commit. It's more political than legal. You know, there's already people sitting in power in both major parties in every state that are not exercising the power they have. And that's the heart of the matter, really. And how do you affect that? You affect that through political pressure. It's not necessarily a question of voting. All that has its role too. I'm not gonna say, you know, it's an anti-voting thing, and that's another thing I'll raise, and I'll try to keep my comments as brief as possible because there's a lot going on. But the real thing is, you know, we're demanding justice now. You know, not next election, not the next 4 years. You know, not in the next, you know, generation, not the next civilization. You know, we demand justice right now, and it's our right to demand it. It's our right to assemble. All these things are kind of under attack, you know, and we've met kind of the resistance on a number of levels, even trying to propose and carry out this action before we've even done it. So I wanted to speak to a little bit of that, but and that's kind of a good backdrop to what's going on. Is
it's 7 o'clock.
It was kind of mentioned last year. There was a big protest, probably the biggest one in the country, was August 28th last year. It happened to be led by the National Action Network, and it was called largely in response. It was announced at George Floyd's funeral, so at least the selling point as to why they were trying to get the public support to come out on that day was basically to center the families who lost loved ones to police violence. But no sooner had they kind of unfurled that kind of marketing strategy, then, you know, they started to downplay the centrality of that issue, and they made it about not that, but other things as well. Voting rights in particular. And it turned out a huge turnout. Part of that was the fact that it happened within the same week that Jacob Blake was shot in the back of the head 9 times on camera, which was one of the higher profile cases of last year. And, you know, it was one of those cases that had a response in a lot of other cities outside of where it happened. And the action on the 28th last year was kind of a vehicle for expressing that for a lot of people. So a lot of people turned out probably expecting to hear a lot more from families than they did, but there was I don't know, from 8 to about 3 there were speeches, but very few of them had families speaking. It was mostly politicians, different community organizations, whatever, and mostly, you know, about voting and things like that. When some of the families finally did get to speak at the end, it kind of broke down, and it was kind of as an afterthought, and that's kind of been a trend. It kind of epitomized a lot of how families have been treated by the protest movement in general, in a lot of cases. I'm not saying categorically for everyone, but it's a thing, and it's something that many families know intimately and have spoken out on, and more are being very vocal, including speaking out calling out one of the main groups that gained the name for itself out of this upsurge, starting with Mike Brown, Black Lives Matter. We don't have to go into that, we can, but it's already public knowledge. People have seen many articles on it and so forth. But that's part of the problem is when you're trying to fight, if other people are siphoning off the sympathy and even the resources that are supposed to go to your fight. And the false pretenses, and that is what's been going on, and that's what's starting to break down, and that's what this action, I think, expresses probably more than anyone that's been called up to now. And it's simply because the families have taken a hold of it and made it their own, and they're responding to each other. What remains to be seen, in my opinion, what we hope to see is that the rest of the protest movement responds in kind. Many who've been campaigning around other demands than what are the two central demands of this action, reopen all past cases of police brutality and jail killer cops. We're gonna call the question and note who's supporting and who's not supporting these families. And this is an important, not only for the families to see, but for the rest of society to see. I have full confidence that the moral authority these families represent is going to win the day. It's going to win the day as the true representative and voice of this movement involving up to now 30 million people taking the streets. I believe it's simply scratching the surface. And then the other thing I wanted to say is just that, I feel like the reason that it resonates so largely, there's a lot of other social problems, and we could go on and on talking about it, but nothing else has produced these kind of dramatic upsurges of like these police brutality incidents. But I just think it's, another reason why this fight is so important. It's kind of the front lines, the flashpoint of the fight for just basic democratic rights, civil rights, and human rights as a whole in the United States of America. And the fight of these families is kind of it's the tip of the spear. These are the stories that are resonating with other people in the population that really have opened people's eyes in a way that, we haven't seen in generations. So it's something not to snooze at, it's something not to miss, it's something to embrace and be a big part of. Sorry, I got my son.
Oh no, you have nothing to be sorry about. So, Brother Brock, I got a few questions before I go to my brother Marcellus to check in to see if you have any questions or comments. But my question is, my phone has been blowing up all day. People want to know on the 28th, what time are we expected to meet? What's the central location, and where we're going to end up at?
All right, I'm sorry. I know you need the logistical information. I'm gonna give you all that. There was just one other story to set this up, though, is because of this action, we didn't participate in all that, but we had our own camp in opposition to focusing on voting rights. We thought that, this fight against police brutality, this is what's mobilizing people, that we need to center it in the families of demand, reopening the cases, prosecuting the police. We marched on the DOJ last year. And a lot of that crowd that came out for Sharpton, thousands of us marched with us afterwards. So it was pretty amazing to see that happen. But we wanted to double down on that. That's why we called this action on the 20th this year, but this time we wanted to take the steps and had to make sure that the families really got to speak. And we actually were told by the Park Service that we had the steps, so we were making preparations. And then a month and a half into it, we were told, oh, actually, there's been an oversight. You don't have the steps. And we were trying to figure out who has the permit. We still don't know the official name of the group or the official contact of the group that has the permit. But we do know now, since it's been announced a couple months after we called our action, that there's going to be basically a voting rights march that's involving a lot of the same forces: Al Sharpton and the National Action Network, MLK III and his group, and the Women's March group. But basically, they're all coming together around voting rights. And then I guess as an afterthought, or they've started to try to throw on things that are related to police brutality, like the George Floyd Act, which was kind of one of the main things they were pushing last year. So in any case, we are still committed to having families speak. So instead of trying to have our rally compete with this other thing, we're having the rally by the White House at the Ellipse in the President's Park. It's really close to the mall, but it's another prominent place where we thought it would be appropriate for families from across the country to speak. So that's the idea. But we do have permits for all these spaces, but we do have a spot right on the National Mall, right next to the Lincoln Memorial, but not the steps. But we plan, instead of trying to do a rally there, we're going to have an art installation there dedicated to the live stolen. So we had a big response to that already. I think close to 300 families have submitted things, and we wanted to offer that too for families who endorse this action but couldn't make it out to DC for whatever reason. So that's another way they can participate and be represented at this action. Now, to more of the logistics, just to kind of point out how remarkable this response is. There's about 480 family members that have endorsed this action from 39 different states, plus the District of Columbia. And out of that, there's at least 273 say that they're probably more than that. I think pretty unprecedented in terms of scale. And then the other aspect of it, to me, that I think that makes it really impressive is it's organized by the families themselves. Every kind of aspect of it has, involved their input, and including, most of these families are raising funds on their own to get to DC. So we don't have any deep-pocketed benefactor that's bankrolling this. And, on the flip side of it, we're not beholden to anyone either. In any formal way or, unspoken way. We have no, we answer to no one but ourselves, so it's a truly independent expression, grassroots on a national scale. I've never seen it. To me, it just, it's a great sign of, to me, what's to come. I think there's going to be a lot more of this to come, but this is a national convergence of families to basically send a message to everyone, not just the DOJ, but the government, the federal government, the president, but also, their home states where people come from, because everyone has a fight against their state government. The way the laws are set up in this country, a lot of the murder cases are dealt with on the state level, unless it involved federal property or federal officers. So, but all these cases are also civil rights violations. So the DOJ, has jurisdiction over all these cases right now under existing law. It's not like But also, the federal government is ultimately responsible for what goes down in this country. So we're holding the federal government responsible at all levels of government: county prosecutors, state governors, state attorneys, and also the legislature. You know, you can't get away with trying to run on this issue and you're not supporting the families or supporting their demands. We need you to use your name, your prestige, your political capital to fully back the demands of the families. And their demands are very simple, very clear. Reopen all past cases of police brutality, jail the cops that have committed crimes, and anyone else who was part of the cover-up. In a thoroughgoing manner, leaving no stone unturned, going back years as far as we need to go. And if you're a cop, if you hadn't committed a crime, you got nothing to worry about, do you? But if you've been party of a crime and you help cover it up, now if you commit the crime, now you're part of the crime. And that goes not only for the cops, but prosecutors, medical examiners, as we know, and even sitting politicians. So basically, we want to really ratchet up the political pressure nationally around this. And, we'll gather here, let people know we're out here. This is what we're saying. It's not what BLM's saying. And they don't speak for this mass movement. They don't have the moral authority that these families have. They speak for the movement. And if you want to follow and support this movement, you got to follow what these families are saying. And that's how we're trying to shift the arguments and the whole focus of how actions are called, what they're called about. And we believe, or I believe, this is the greatest amount of political pressure we can put on the government right now. Short of something, much more, dramatic, I suppose. But the simple fact is that the movement that we've seen has been very powerful, very massive, but in a large part leaderless, disorganized. And there's a leadership vacuum that until it's filled, we won't truly see the full potential of this movement, which in my opinion is, probably the most historically significant thing any of us have seen in our lifetimes, unless, maybe some people are bold enough to be part of organizing the civil rights era, but nothing since that time period compares to this. And even on a simple size scale, we've turned out more people than have been turned out during the civil rights era. So now I'm not, I think there's a lot more work to be done and a lot more can be done, but if you don't see what's going on in front of our eyes and the historical significance of it, you're asleep right now. And we have a real opportunity to really have an impact on the flow of events nationally. And this is just one step along a long chain. A big part of it is just that families are just starting in a much more organized way, unite, and kind of in the wake of that unity is a much more broader unity that's being built amongst the supporters of these families from all sections of society. I believe that's why it's so significant. That's why everyone needs to support it financially, by turning out to it, by telling your friends, your family, whatever. If you're in a group, your supporters, your organization should endorse it, should back this, and in general, going forward, back this particular leadership of this movement expressed in these families coming together. Now, as far as the other logistics, I know there's going to be an art installation. We even may have it up a whole week ahead of time, but we'll definitely have it up Friday, the day before. And so for families that are coming in out of town, a lot of them will probably come in Friday, so this will be an opportunity to meet and greet at that area. And could be another opportunity for press interviews or families to get a chance to speak. Just because of the overwhelming response, it's going to be real difficult for everyone to speak at the rally itself, and we're trying to work out a fair way to do that by region, somewhat random, and not based on who's popular in the news necessarily, but just on the simple fact of being an impacted family and how many people it's affected. The rally's going to start at 11 right now and probably go for 4 or 5 hours, somewhere in that range. And then we're going to march. We're trying to march around 3, really, or somewhere around that time, and march to the DOJ. The Ellipse is right there close to the National Mall, so we'll march down Constitution Avenue, kind of the same, for those who were part of the march last year, it's kind of the same exact route, would just be a different starting point. And then once we get to the DOJ, we'll kind of hold a brief rally there and disperse from there. There will be opportunity if anybody has petitions they want to turn in. We're trying to get someone from the DOJ to be present. But just to that question too, in terms of the fact that it's a Saturday and not a Friday, our main purpose with this action is to really show the broad unity around this fight and just to assemble the political support. We feel that message is going to be heard regardless of whether there's somebody in the office or not. Our presence will be seen or will be felt. And we already know it's upsetting the apple cart because they had something else planned such that they tried to remove us from the spot they said we had. Now, we also have a Freedom of Information request. We're trying to get the real information on this permit, which so far they have not been forthcoming. We should get something in the next day or two about that, which might reveal more problems with what was done. But basically, after the rally, we will have a place where families can gather that evening, and there may be a workshop the next day for those who are still in town, just around some legal stuff that might be helpful in terms of how to get documents related to your case, things of that nature, that some lawyers will be on hand to help give some basic tips on. And then we expect most people to be leaving out Sunday. For the families coming in, we really encourage them to stay Saturday night and to just use that opportunity to just link up and network with all the families that are going to be in town. We know that's invaluable going forward, and just building the bonds, the unity, the awareness, and just the collaboration that is now possible in a way that was never possible, and that can be a real factor in everyone's fight wherever they go back home. And this is going to mean a lot to places that aren't that organized. I mean, just seeing this, what's clear is some places are getting really organized. Some have been organized for a while, so that's always encouraging too. But we can always all get much more better organized. So there's different levels to this. So I think we're at a qualitative moment where we're taken to another level in terms of really at least 38, 39 states working together, going forward. But also specifically around these particular demands, reopening the cases and jailing the killer cops. Among other things that people may also want to raise, that's the other thing. We're not counterposing it to other demands that people might be fighting around in different states or in their case or whatever. There is a big push around qualified immunity that many people, we're definitely not opposed to that, getting rid of qualified. Some states, they've done that already. The main thing, though, is that, prosecuting the police is criminal. That's a criminal. That was in criminal court. Qualified immunity is civil court. That's when you sue the police. So if you want to see a cop in jail, it has to happen in a criminal court. There's things you can learn in a civil suit that can help a criminal case. So in that sense, it's good to get rid of all restrictions just for getting information. But until, you get a prosecutor to indict a police officer, they're not going to go to jail, So yes, we want cases reopened, but then that simply just opens it back up to where we can fight to get them indicted, where they thought they were free of that. We're telling them, no, think again, we're still out here and justice is still coming for you. So, we've seen some recent cases. I think it's all part of this, the demand, even raising the demand. It wasn't even a thing that you would hear much even 7 years ago, reopening cases. Now it's a thing that almost all the families are demanding. And part of the reason they're demanding it is most families are find themselves in that position. They got no justice. Didn't even get a trial for the loss of their loved ones. So most families are fighting to reopen their case. Because usually, they'll wait about a year and then they'll just say, case closed. And that's been the pattern over all this history up to this turning point. I think we're in a turning point in U.S. history where there's never been such political pressure felt by the government on all levels to somehow, show that they actually, believe in democracy or equal rights or whatever laws they claim to uphold. Clearly, they pick and choose when they want to implement it, and we're saying you don't get to choose. We choose. The people will speak, and for me, that's the kind of. And I'll stop my comments here. If there's any other questions, please ask. We definitely need donations still, so you can send donations to. We have a Venmo account set up. August 28th DC, at August 28th DC. That's the Venmo account, or you can send it to Mass Action. Just make sure you put August 28th in the memo, or the Andrew Kearse Foundation, which has agreed to help receive funds for us as a 501c3 group. We're trying to raise about $15,000 for just the national budget, and then we know there's hundreds of families trying to make it, so whatever does come in beyond what we need to cover, just the logistical stuff like porta potties, stage sound, things of that nature, we'll definitely try to get to the families that need the help, if it's available. But anyways, the final point was, this is not just about individual families. Y'all are providing a lane for the whole country to fight, is what I'm trying to do that. By you coming together, it's symbolic, but you don't represent just you and your family, your cities. We're representing 39 states at the very least, but probably 100 cities, and growing. The whole thing is so to me, it's an incredible moment. I believe it's a turning point, and I hope everybody who's inspired by this movement over the last 7 and 8 just takes notice, takes heed, and follows suit. That this struggle continues, and these families are holding the banner for the whole movement, and we just need to keep the pressure on and take it to the next level. which is basically, you know, full court press across the nation, all levels of government. And now's not the time to go back to your cubicle. We need to remain.
I'm sorry, Brock, you're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was it. Basically, that's what I think we're going into in the next stage of U.S. history, and this fight remains at the forefront. It's not yesterday's news. It's not time to move on to other issues. We've only begun to deal with this issue. Like Derek Chauvin getting indicted and convicted, like even his trial isn't over. He's still got other indictments that he's facing, and then there's 3 other officers in that case. So now's not the time to go to sleep. We're just starting to wake up, and we're not going to let them sweep this back under the rug. So that's kind of the heart of this whole thing. And I'm sorry for speaking so much, but that's what I gotta say.
No, I definitely appreciate it. And my question would be, because you did good with the logistics and everything, and I'm glad that you put all the other stuff, because it was important to know how everything unfolded, where we are. So I appreciate all of that. But what is the start point time? Because I missed that. Like, what is the startup time? Is it like 9 o'clock, 8, 12, noon? Like, what's the startup time? Because I know we're going to do the 4 to 5 hours of speaking, and then the
right.
So what's the startup time?
So, yeah, the startup time rally at the Ellipse is right now. It's at 11 o'clock. But we will have our art installation on the mall. That'll be up maybe the whole week, but definitely that morning it'll be up. And we'll have people down there. Have people in the mall, hopefully passing out flyers, letting people know what the families are up to, and asking for people's support and to join us at the march. So even if people came out to whatever, because the SEIU or Sharpton or something told them to come out to the mall, they can still support the march at 3 or whatever. At some point, go over to the families rally that's going to be going on for hours, from 11 till about 3, and it's right up the street. Or they could meander over to the art installation, which is right there on the mall, which is going to have all these families, and information about their cases on display. And it's also going to be promoting the rally and the march that's going on up the street. So that's kind of the idea. We plan for the families in the fight to have a big presence on the mall, but because we got moved from our spot, we're gonna take it to the White House, and then we're gonna march to the DOJ. But definitely see this as part of the history, part of the tradition of the civil rights movement, and a proper, maybe the most powerful way to commemorate the 58th anniversary is to join the families on that day. That's what we think, and that's why we're out there.
Right, thank you so much. And now we're going to check in with our brother Marcellus to see if we have any questions or comments. And thank you, Brother Brock.
Thank you.
Yes. So we have a comment on YouTube from Smiley. He says every case matters. Angela says every case matters. Killer cops belong in cell blocks. West Wednesday, West Coalition. And Hillary says, can Brock put Venmo and other fundraising info in the chat? Fundraising is to help families who need help to get there, correct?
This fundraising actually is for the national budget, basically for the sound, the stage, porta potties, tents, water. Because we think we need tents because we expect there's going to be heat and it's going to be a long program. We need shade for families so people don't get heat stroke or whatever.
Right.
So there is local efforts wherever you're at, where families are fundraising. I don't have all that information. I'm not really sure what's going on in Maryland or whatever. And that's basically it. I don't know. Question, put information in the chat.
Yes. Yep, she would like the information in the chat if you have it.
Yeah, I put the Venmo. We have a PayPal account too. I'll put that, and then if people want to send checks, I'll try to put that information in as well.
While brothers putting that in the chat, is there any more questions or comments, Marcellus?
No more questions.
Alrighty. So thank you, Brother Brock. If you want to, stay and put it in queue, you can. Feel free. And I know you said you had something else to do. So if you can't, I will definitely be talking to you after this is over with. And again, thank you for your time. Thanks for Mass Action and all the work and dedication that you guys are doing. And yeah, let's get it till we win, like y'all say, until we win.
Y'all, y'all having on me once justice for Tyrone West and all the stolen lives and justice for all. So hope to see y'all on the 28th in DC, but that's just one step along the chain. So we're gonna keep fighting, like you said, till we win. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. So just for time's sake, and I thank my sister for staying in queue. And her name is Latoya Benton. Her son Xavier Hill was murdered this year by state troopers, and this is horrible. He was only 18 years old, and this is just really sad. So I'm trying not to tear up. My heart goes out to this queen, and it's just really sad. This is a club that no one signs up to be in. No one. Literally, last week we were out at West Wednesday. We were out at the Giant Supermarket where our brother was executed, Nicholas Lee, and we're still demanding accountability. We still don't know who the security guard was that murdered him. We don't know if they're still walking the beat, if they have been arrested. We don't know anything. They sweep stuff under the rug, and it's just really sad. So we're still fighting for our brother Lee. We're not going to give up. For no further ado, I'm going to bring, and please guys, let's just send all love. Let's send prayers. If you pray, keep my sister in thought, because this is horrible. Her son was executed. And no further ado, I'm going to bring our sister queen, Latoya Benton. Mic check.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Hi guys. So my name is Latoya Benton. I am Xavier Hill's mother. Xavier was actually my only child. So not only did I lose, a child, also my only child I actually had. As y'all can see behind, I'm just seeing a picture of the corner. That's Xavier back there. We keep pulling here in the corners as well. Like Brock said, we are going to have a protest on the 28th of August. I am aware, that protesting does not bring our families back, no. And we are asking to have all the cases reopened, but we're asking for more than just that. Reopening the case does not bring us justice for our families. At some point in time, we do need the laws to change, because the laws that are currently in place is what is protecting the cops to, even if we open the case up or not, if we open the case up, if the laws that are currently in place are still horrible laws, they will still be affected. Granted, we have family members who are affected. I feel like everyone in America should be on fire right now, because the laws have affected us directly, like myself, like your brother. That's going to affect them also at some point in time. So my whole thing is, on the 28th, we're actually going to come out there, support the families, donate. We got families out here who can't get to a protest. I met moms who want to protest for their kids, and the community doesn't help them, so they want to get out, to protest and whatnot. They need help They need guidance. I know in this we're gonna do a Know Your Rights class as well. Because with Xavier, what happened in January, I was lost. You know, like something brand new that happened. No one can tell you, you know, what to do and what not. So it's important that we educate each other as far as what is happening now. It's happening too much. It's happening way too much, way too often, and you can't convince me that everybody across the United States is doing the exact same thing. It's the same narrative. They always had a gun. Like, I'm just so tired of hearing that shit. It's kind of like it's been the same thing over and over and over and over again. At some point in time, the community has to wake up to, you know, hey, enough is enough.
Absolutely. Like, I'm just starting for words. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, even if you had like 10 of the children, just the fact that that was your child, and then for me to learn that I was your only child, like Queen, I'm just so deeply sorry. And I commend your strength. I just commend you, and you're up there with all the Shero mothers that I look up to that can actually be able to talk and read after their children or child has been murdered by killer cops. And I don't care how old they get, a mother's child or babies will always be their baby. They could be a baby in their 30s, 40s, whatever. They're gonna always be our babies, you know. And I'm so sorry, my son.
I thank you so much. Like I told you, it's the community. But you know, when I talk about how to Xavier, they always say, you know, they say I'm not they're sorry, and I appreciate it. I do all the time, you know, just like you know, we want people to help us. You know, it's a matter of we can go protest and stuff, but if we're not writing these mayors and these senators and whatnot, to either get them out of office, to do their job, or to change the laws, there's a point of doing this. You know, we gotta go way beyond protesting and stuff. So my way of asking people's help is to call the mayor, call the senator. We have a court case, so we're starting it's going to be on September the 20th against the state police. You know, if people come to court with us, you got some moms out here who, you know, I've tried to tell moms who's been affected by this to know what to do, what not to do, and what may need help at the same time. But it is a community thing. I think as our community itself, we do suffer like PTSD from this, and no one knows that we do it not. So on the 28th, we're asking everyone to come out, be supportive, show up in numbers to go with understand this is not going to die down. It's a problem they have created, and they're not going to fix it.
And I definitely agree with you, my queen. And it's just like fighting them on every level.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, with like West Wings, and even though we protest weekly, and we started the online thing because of the pandemic, you know, and but we go beyond protest. Like literally, when my brother was murdered, we had a racist state's attorney, Greg Bernstein, at the time, who elected not to prosecute 17 murderers, but let them walk away with immunity. You know, let them walk away with pay raises. And I'm like, you know what? Then he had the nerve to disrespect my family and tell us, you got my mom, who's my auntie, that helped raise me and Tyrone, grieving, crying in the chair, and this animal tells her, don't get comfortable in that chair because I'm not prosecuting any of the officers that murdered Tyrone. And I'm like, and I told him, I said, don't you get comfortable in that chair, because guess what? We're going to make sure you get out of office. I said a few potty words. I'm trying to keep it mild and meek, but I let him have it. And I told him, I promise you that you will look at my face, because you're going to see this face again. It's going to be the point, this face is going to get you kicked out of office. And that's exactly what we did. And it's like, and we still got to get these prosecutors that don't know how to prosecute out of office. We still got to get these medical examiners officers that play crucial roles in our loved one case. So it's not just the killer cops that murder us, like you said, it's these laws that they are hiding behind, like the Officer Bill of Rights, that places them above the law, that gives them time while we're burying our loved one. They used to have 10 days, now it's 5. They don't need no days.
Yeah.
Whenever we get murdered, we murder somebody or something, they interrogate us and throw us away, lock us up, throw away the key, you'll never see us again. We want the same thing to happen to these killer cops.
That's right.
I'm with you on that. And just like, I don't know if you heard about David Fowler. He was the chief medical examiner here in Baltimore. He actually sat in the room with the cops that murdered my brother. It was law enforcement officers there at my brother's autopsy while they're actually writing the autopsy report, and they lied and said my brother died from a bad heart and dehydration. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And then he had the nerve to go and throw himself under the bus, you know, when in the George Floyd case, and said that, you know, George Floyd died from everything but Derek's knee, everything, even carbon dioxide, you know, all this stuff. You know, it's horrible, it's disgusting, but it said nobody listens to the impacted family, but you can have doctors or other people, bystanders that come up and they'll get more respect than we had. Like, I shouldn't have to pay $50,000 to get my brother's body. If nobody's going to give me my money back, nobody tells you that, you know, while fighting, they say that there's a law, there's a limit that you can go after the medical examiner's office to get your money back. And when I was out there, we never missed a beat. And I'm asking them, day one, I want to go up to the medical examiner's office. Why am I paying $50,000? They told me, oh, it's nothing I can do. But now I'm learning that, oh, if you would have went, there's a 3-year statute limit. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
And that's
I'm just looking for 8 years. So what part did I miss? So I'm just with you in any help you need, because like I said, people will lead you down a dead end road. I'm trying to find a dead end road.
That's it. And then once you're not done that dead end path, that's time you cannot get back. And they're not going to give you time back from the government. Once you're on a statute of limitations, that clock starts ticking. So it's like you can grieve for your family, or you can start fighting. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like, it shouldn't be when we have to pick one of the two, you know? And they put it to us and they say, well, you got 3 years and you got 2 years to do that. That'd be right. You know, as a mom, we won't have no time at all. She got a plan of people, then jump in the fight at all. What point in time do we have as parents to grieve our kids when this happens? We don't. You know? So it's like, they're not keeping it on top of the school and say, hey, y'all going to the wayside. No, we ain't going for that no more, man. That's not going to happen no more out here. Like, that's not, we ain't doing that. We ain't going for that. That's the old school way of doing stuff. We're not going for that. We're going to disregard us and say, hey, you disregard. No.
I'm right there with you, but you got, like I said, now I'm your sister for life. I ain't going nowhere, so any which way I can help you fight, you gonna fight this. Like you said, enough is enough been enough. And the sad part, like you said, I'm glad you said it. Like, literally these 8 years, I had never had a moment to actually grieve. And you talking 8 years later, I have never had an opportunity because I'm so busy. My mind is like, oh, I gotta keep my brother's name alive. Oh, I gotta deadline that, and then the deadlines they don't tell you about. I'm like, I don't file all type of complaints, all type of everything, to the point that I'm reaching out. At the time, it was President Obama. I'm reaching out to the president. You know, I'm reaching out to Lottie, Dottie, anybody, like, I'm not giving up. Let me try this. This ain't working. Let me do that. And they still playing it. They still playing it.
So what they do is they do it so that it's not universal across the board. The Constitution is written for the United States, not written for North Carolina, for Florida, for Texas. The Constitution is written for across the board. So it shouldn't be when you go to North Carolina, the statute is one thing. You go to Florida, the statute is something different. That's dumb. They need to be universal across the board, whatnot, and have universal rules, whatnot, period. That way they can't cause a lot of confusion. They put the art of confusion in so that you don't know what's going on, and then by the time you go down, it's like, oh my God, I waited too late to stop anything. And so many moms, that's happening to them. And then it's like, it's not fair. Then they have that matter of, I don't know, like the aftermatter of, they just feeling guilty because they run out of time to fight for the kids and whatnot. And that's not fair. So my thing with Xavier, as well as you know, our work this fight is to get like real legislative change. We can protest. I'm all for protesting. You gotta help bring awareness. I think if people say don't protest, I protest. It helps me get my anger out. It helps me to go liberate some whatnot, and also too, it brings about awareness. The media does not put out every on the news. We have to use our own social platform to raise awareness. That's important. People don't understand that. People don't, everybody don't necessarily watch the news, whatnot. They on Facebook, not saying that they're not. So use that what it's used for, you know? And my whole thing is fighting for Xavier and all those other lives, if you understand that I'm not going for people say no, with the son have a gun. I live in Virginia, so you know, and I think you're in Maryland, but you know, in Virginia, we have the grand state in Virginia. So the gun laws here, I get it from the Texas. So it is still, I feel my son had. My son was still about the process. So we should talk about, you know, the exams are not, that is the process. Then I feel that it's not fair. You might have to tell how we're doing. And my son, he got the process out. That's what I'm like, you know.
And when you're taking phone, it's kind of deep enough, it's kind of real funny. Can you say something else? I could barely hear you. It's like you really faded out. Okay, try it again. I'm sorry, guys. We're getting a bad connection from our sister who was making very important points, and everything she said definitely makes sense. So, I don't know what the technical issue is, but just trying. Hopefully, that it can clear it up. Can you hear us, Queen?
I think she's reconnecting.
Okay, well, hopefully until we get her back. But again, she was making a lot of great valid points, and it goes beyond protest. Because to me, protest without purpose is pointless. Doing anything without a purpose is pointless. You know, you always have to have this demand that you want to see. So, and that has always been the case. And that's why we do West Wednesday, and we're going to continuously do West Wednesday. But that is not all that we do. That is not all that we do. And even all the stuff that we do is still not enough. Like here in Baltimore City, you know, they had a gag order which when they give you a payout settlement that your family deserves you as a victim. You know, this is not a lottery ticket. This is something they brutalized you. They violated your rights. They killed your loved ones. If someone kills me, God forbid, they better take care of my children. I'm providing for my family now. So if you in my life, you better take care of my damn children. That's not enough. But then the fact that you want to take the money, that's our money, our taxpayer dollars, and cover our mouth and silence us from telling our truth. Like, no. So shout out to the West Coalition. Shout out to Runners for Justice. Shout out to Jews for Justice. Shout out Without Black Women. Shout out to you know, the councilman and at the time Brandon Scott, who actually sponsored our bill, you know, and it was passed into law. You know, so all this is just fights. It's just crazy. It's like a lot is going on now. It's just way too much. So is our sister back yet?
No, but Angela's here.
Oh, awesome. Well, I don't know if Angela just want to listen in or talk. So, Queen, would you like to speak? Oh, so she probably.
No, I'm just listening tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sometimes y'all sister just wants to definitely be in Kira. And again, I uplifted your brother's name and your name at the beginning. And I'm gonna continuously uplift.
I'm sorry. Yes, I do wanna say to the sister that I am sorry for her loss, and my heart does go out to her. And like you said, Sister Tawanda, everything that she said was valid. Everything she mentioned is very valid, and I'm just taking it all in at the moment.
Awesome, I appreciate you. And again, I know your wound is fresh, and even though my wound is 8 years old, it's still fresh, because when you take something that you cannot give a family back, it will always be fresh. And I'm not trying to discourage you and make you feel like, oh, you just gonna be hurting and suffering all your life. I'm not trying to do that either, because I'm not trying to scare you, or, you know, but, you know, everybody deals with trauma, pain differently, and I'm praying that the way I feel, and I haven't had a chance to really grieve. I'm praying that both you and my newly sister Latoya don't go through that. I'm praying that you guys get to grieve and breathe at the same time and figure this out and don't go through this long dog and pony show. I'm praying that they don't do what they did to my family, to your family in a way. That's why I feel as though it's very important. So if I have to take that hit, take that big loss, just to show the world like you never give up on your loved one, you keep on fighting no matter how hard it gets, no matter when it seems like you can't even fight no more. And the saddest part, we spend more time fighting with family, fighting with friends, fighting with people that should be fighting with us instead of fighting against us from foolishness. Instead of them saying, you know what, let me rock it out, because that could easily be me, but people don't look at it like that. It's sad that we are the complacent people that until stuff happens to us, we don't believe that the fire can burn. Like, we know it's hot, we see the sparks, but until you get burnt by that fire, you don't believe how hot it is. It only get hot when it takes your loved one, and it shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that.
That's
right. If you love people as a friend, if you love people as a sister, a cousin, an aunt, or whatever, however you love them, never judge somebody, because guess what? When you're pointing fingers at someone, guess what? His finger's being pointed at you, and you never know what somebody is mentally going through. Just because people don't open up and vocalize and say, hey, I'm hurting about this, that, and the third, I can't take another blow. You don't know what someone can take. And my mother always taught me, and my beautiful grandmother, Maybelle Anderson, may they both rest in peace. Shirley Anderson, Maybelle Anderson. They taught me, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Because guess what? You know, and we always heard that old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That was a lie. That was the biggest lie the devil could have came up with. Because guess what? Sometimes words hit harder than it. But sometimes you'd rather somebody just smack you, because at least the physical part, you're like, damn, that hurt, but I'm going to heal up, let me get an ice pack on it. But if somebody say something that just cuts through your skin and through your heart, every time you think about what they say, you're going to relive that. That's going to hurt harder than that fist. You know, that's going to hurt harder than that stone. So let's be clear, if you can't say something nice to people, don't say anything. Just try to support somebody in any and every way you can. It's called love. It's called integrity. It's called respect. And even sometimes if you don't understand a person, listen, just be quiet. Sometimes they don't even want you to say anything. Sometimes they might just need you to be that listening ear. They just getting it out, because sometimes people take a whole lot before they just go into explaining something or whatever. Just be that listening ear. Be a help support system to somebody, because guess what? You never know when you're going to need a help support system. You can have everything going so fine and dandy, and even though you might have a little up and down, oh, I can't pay this bill, or that's going to talk about foolishness, right? Reality can hit, and when your loved one is snatched from murder, that is horrible, and I don't wish that on anybody. That's when now you're in a new world. And I never knew what the Roberta House taught me when they said, you know what, Tawanda, that old world you had, that's gone. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want that cut me. I'm like, what do you mean? But I know what it means, because guess what? That Tawanda Jones that was before I am now, I died on, a big part of me died on July the 18th. And then, you know, for me to build myself back up, and then to actually get murdered all over again on January the 20th when my cousin Tavon Anderson was murdered. Like, it's draining, it's a lot. And then even when you deal with, like, not even somebody getting murdered, just my grandmother passed away, the lovingest person in the world. But what helps me is I know she lived a whole life of purpose. She lived her long life. She didn't suffer. She wasn't, and I'm grateful for that. So that's why I can't be like, oh my God, letting sadness overtake me, because I definitely want to hear. But as cruel as this world is, I would never bring her back here. I wouldn't even bring Tyrone or Tavon back here. You know, it's just sad. Like, it's just sad, but I'm just like, I'm sorry I'm in my mills, I'm sorry in my feelings, and I'm scrambling, but it's just hard to actually see my sister up here talking, and I give you all the kudos, because when I was in your stage, I couldn't talk for 3 to 4 months. It took me literally almost 4 months after Tyrone was murdered for me to actually be able to do what you're doing now, and you're doing a hell of a job. You're doing a hell of a job, and I heard your sister Shantae talk. You guys are doing an excellent job on uplifting Timothy's name, and I know he's looking down, and he's so proud of you guys. Like, you're doing a hell of a job. Did our sister Latoya get back on yet? You welcome. Is Latoya back on yet?
No.
So maybe we, unfortunately lost our sister. Hopefully she will, join us back again, or maybe like could have been her device could have went dead. But I hate to always sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's just like when you start making these violent points, and when you're dealing with yeah, it just everything just start going. Your phone start going bad and all type of stuff. Been there, done it, and the thing is, the way society and the way the system would have it, it would make you look like you're stone cold nuts. Like you're like, my phone is tapped, it's echoing, and it really is. Like it really is. Let's be real. And I just looked at the other day, on my line yesterday, marked the day, and that's why I always post. People are like, why do you post this, that, and that? I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm making that fingerprint, that forensic fingerprint. When I post what I want to post on social media, because it keeps it for me, it stores it, and it locks it away, so that it's not like I made this stuff up, or even if I forget when it happened, I know that it happened. But I said all this to say, when I was telling you guys about the silver car that had started stalking me, I read on my Facebook, it was one of my memories yesterday, and I said, I'm on my way to work, I go outside, I don't even, I have a driveway, so there's not like street parking. Why is it a silver car that blocked my driveway and then actually let me out, and then followed me halfway to work? And when I took my cell phone out to take a picture of this female, it was a white female in a silver car, she had a piece of paper and it blocked me. So I wrote all that on yesterday, and then literally on September the 4th, I'll never forget it, it'll be coming up soon, is when the car that my brother was actually driving at night, my green Mercedes-Benz, that wound up getting totaled. When I told you there was a lady, which nobody believed me at first when I said she was driving down the street with her legs wrapped around the steering wheel, and she almost hit me twice, but then she went into my parked car, thank God, didn't hit me or didn't hurt anyone or even herself. But I said all this to say that I had got stalked literally from the 27th, the silver car kept popping up until literally September the 4th is when I had that accident. So when this September the 4th come up, I'll post all the stuff, and I hope the video even pops up when they actually told me to go down to Northeast District, the same district that murdered my brother, told me to come down there midnight to get a police report. And I'm like, why can't I go online? They're like, I want to give this to you, and it was a bunch of crap, and I went down there that Sunday on Facebook Live, so whenever that video pops up, I'm going to share it with you guys. It's sad that we are people that have to see something before we believe it, but anyway, I can go on all night, but I won't. So, moving on for time interest, do we have the, first of all, I want to check in with Marcellus to see if we have any more comments or questions, and then from there we will move on to the sad list. Marcel, do we have any comments or questions?
Yes, we do. Smiley says Nicholas Lee deserves justice and answers. Smiley also says praying and hoping that you, Angela, and Latoya do not have a lengthy fight for accountability. Tawanda, I'm still holding you and your family up. Angela says, I'm so sorry for your loss. My heart goes out to you, sis, referring to Latoya. Bill says, yes, Latoya, my heart goes out to you too for the loss of your only child. Angela says, not going away, going to fight until the end. Hillary says, yes, the whole system is wrong. Thank you for your persistence and so sorry for your loss. And Angela says, shout out to Wanda Jones. And that is all just, I will also be reading the police brutality list tonight. Mic check.
Mic check. And I see my brother Brian and Q, and unfortunately these are lists, and I see them. So before we go into the list, I see that our sister Latoya joined us back again, so I could bring her on quickly before we go on to the sad list. Latoya, you there, sis? Mic check.
Mic check. I'm sorry. My phone had died.
I think that something was going on with your device. Yeah, so you miss Marcellus, could you real quick read, because someone that they were sending you love. We have comments that were right off the different social media platforms. And Marcellus, do you mind reading in the comments again, please, so our sister Queen can hear what she had missed it, if you don't mind?
So Angela said, I'm so sorry for your loss. My heart goes out to you, sis. Smiley says, praying and hoping that you, Angela, and Latoya do not have a lengthy fight for accountability. And Bill says, yes, my heart goes out to you, too, for the loss of your only child. And Angela says, not going away, going to fight until the end. And Hillary also says, yes, the whole system is wrong. Thank you for your persistence, and so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mr. Queen, I want to ask you real quick, what ways can we support you or help you in your fight for accountability? And is there anything else you want to share before we go on to reading these two sad lists?
Well, I can I'll send you over the call to action. You know, we post out and stuff like that or whatnot. It's me is more so mainly just continuing to call Mark Heron's office. And granted, he's currently in office right now. He got reelected. He is the one who told the NYPD they're going to have a meeting about his case back in probably in April. And we haven't heard nothing from him since then. I can send you over all the call actions we've made as far as like calling. I've called his office, I've called the governor's office, I've overnight mailed to the president, I've overnight mailed to the DOJ, the FBI, you name it, I done doing it. But I will send you over all the call actions list. Any money that like I know it says Xavier's fees whatnot, we send it off to the lawyer because our lawyer is still it's not I'm paying for a lawyer of course. So it's not and once they took the case on, they'll switch it over. So I'll send you over the link to that as well. But it does cost, like people don't know too, these Ben Chunks and Lee whatever or not, they're not like lawyers and stuff. They're like put in place puppets. You know what I mean? More so to kind of like people of peace. They're not here to fight for the people. The people who fight with people are ones that actually pay for it. These little pro bono lawyers, they don't work. So I think, more so keep sharing Xavier's story. Even though they've done amazing at the count, there goes to our lawyer fees that when the time comes, we already put up $10,000 already for lawyer fees for Xavier. And I'm quite sure, and just, and I'm like, they have the donations, but I know there's other moms out there who want to fight. And they can't fight because people don't want to help out. So my thing is, as a community, the community has to step up. Not to the Xavier's case, not to Tyrone's case. They gotta step up in general. Just because it happens to them directly does not mean you cannot be affected. That's the thing. You gotta realize that the law, it happened to me and you directly, but the laws are still affecting indirectly right now. So people realize that. So the community needs to step up. So I'm asking as a plea for the community to step up. It's more than just sharing a hashtag. They're not hashtags. It goes beyond that. I'm tired of sharing hashtags. Let's go beyond that. That's when you gotta step up and really be consistent to get the job done. That's the main thing. But I'll send you the links and stuff. What we've been doing as far as the call to action. I have court September the 20th in Richmond as well. And like I said, I'm gonna just keep fighting. I'm gonna just keep fighting.
Yes, and you're not alone. We got your back. So once you share, send me all the stuff, sis, and I'll start posting on my Facebook, and I'll start even sharing it on my brother's page as well. So you're not in this alone. We're here to support you. And again, I know all the stories in the world, won't change anything. But again, I'm here if you in any kind of way for me to just call me on the weekend, during the weekday, anytime. Anything, I'm probably available.
And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Yeah, so I'm sorry, what you say, Queen?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. So, really quick, Marcellus, you have any more questions?
We do not.
Okay, so with that, we can just keep going, but again, we're here to support the Queen. For any call to action, guys, I'm asking you now in advance, please just reshare it. And if we need to call and blow the phones up, it doesn't matter where you at in the world. Xavier can easily be your child. You know, this is the young man whose life was murdered, and I wouldn't care if he had a weapon or not. It's like I said in my sister's case with Timothy. I wouldn't care because guess what? We know that they take serial killers that executed and murdered people and walked into accountability with not even a threat. So I don't even want to hear that. You know, so again, we're going to keep fighting this other fight that nobody's asked to be in. And real fast, before we go to the sad list, I want to lift up our sister Kelly and Keith Davis Jr. They just went through another anniversary. Just imagine having an anniversary and your biggest pride, your spouse is not there. Just like Hillary, and happy belated birthday again to you. Your birthday was yesterday. I wish them many birthday wishes, but it's after the fact, so I'm still turned up for Hillary. And her and Keith Davis Jr. shared a birthday, and this young man is now 30 years old. And he has spent the past 6 years locked up in the cell where those killer cops that murdered our loved ones need to be at. And Keith Davis Jr. and it's unfortunate. We have been through so many trials. It's crazy. Like, he is the second person in American history to be tried that much. To be tried that much for the same case. It's horrible. It's disgusting. So, like Kelly says, until it's reversed, until he comes across her door, comes in that door with their kids, we're not going to stop fighting to keep David Jr. So we'll keep you guys posted, and thanks for everybody that's been out knocking on the door, just making everybody aware of what's going on with Keith Davis Jr. And again, she had a birthday, and what did this queen do? For her birthday, she's actually doing a press conference to get her husband home. And I was there. This beautiful queen is still fighting like hell, and she never gave up. And I commend her so much. So again, just wanted to give love to our queen and our king, Keith Davis Jr. And Merlin Mosley, you really need to find out who killed Kevin Jones, because that family needs accountability. They need accountability. Because if someone's family member is murdered, you don't need to pin nobody down for a crime that they didn't commit. Find the killer, because the killer is still out there. And God knows who else this murderer done murder, especially with our homicide rate being as high as it is. People out here purging, and we don't know who. Find out who killed Kevin Jones, and maybe that might solve some of your crimes that are going on in the city. Could they have killed my cousin Tavon Anderson too? Like, we need to find these killers and hold them accountable. So as we go on for this sad list, just thinking, normally I always give like a minute, but I know that we have like a long police brutality list, and I know that we're over 8 o'clock, and I respect everybody's time. So just before our brother Brian Reese's sad list, guys, nobody wants to get that phone call or wake up to rest in peace because they are loved ones. But you can't even be living on earth in peace, because peace don't look like you sitting down on the front having fun with your family member and somebody just blows your brains out. Peace don't look like you're sat parked in your car waiting for your child to come into your car and you're gunned down. Peace don't look like a 3-year-old baby sitting in the back seat of the car and her brains is blown out. Like, bullets have no names, victims. It's just horrible. My heart goes out to all victims. So please, as we listen to Brown read off this horrible sad list, that's probably 9 times out of 10 not updated. But as we know, the victims saying, let's keep the family in prayers and pray, keep them in thought, just send good vibes, and let's just hope that this bloody murder ends. Enough is enough. So subscribe. The floor is all yours. My check.
Thank you, Tawanda. Yeah, we also want to hold in mind that each of these people is not just a person unto themselves. They're part of a family. They're part of a community, and all those people are suffering with their death. And so, just try and keep those people in your hearts as well as the actual victims. So this week, Zachary Weaver, 28.
Zachary Weaver, 28.
Donta Sampson, 45.
Donta Sampson, 45.
Voslas Nettles, 64.
Voslas Nettles, 64.
Derek Lilly, 27.
Derek Lilly, 27.
Taiwan Murray, 24.
Taiwan Murray, 24.
Deontay Brown, 24.
Deontay Brown, 24.
Trayvon Hopkins, 29.
Trayvon
Hopkins, 29.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'm a praying woman. I believe in God. I'm just praying for the families, and I'm just so sorry. My heart goes out, and it's just really sad. So we're gonna go on to the sad list of all the police murders, and Marcellus is going to lead that. And again, as you hear these names, and there's a lot of names, like Uncle Bill told us this week, it's going to be a lot of names. And the saddest part is you won't hear these names like on the news. They won't make that connection. They try to make these things seem like, oh, they're isolated incidents. They try to just focus in on the community violence, and at the same time, we don't know who's killing who, what, we don't know anything. We know what they want us to know. Just like, Fox 40 Lies, did their little town hall meeting yesterday, and then they was trying to call out the mayor, and they were like, oh, well, he was playing T-ball and all this foolishness. They actually went and showed him doing T-ball practice. Like, who does that? Like, y'all that desperate, hard up. Like, it's just sad. Like, and I'm only saying this because I noticed that they actually really, like, unapologetically go after black folks with no problem relentlessly. But then when we had Greg Bernstein in office, this white guy that didn't prosecute anybody, they never went after him and said why he wasn't at a town hall meeting talking about police brutality. They never, they go after who they want to go after. Especially, it's just disgusting. So, but as we listen to Marcellus read these names, please keep in mind that these are someone's loved ones. And again, they try to make these things seem like they're isolated incidents when in fact it's systemically happening, and it's happening all over, everywhere. And that's why it's very important that we come together, not just on August the 28th to say we open these cases. We need to stay together, stay in these streets, stay together, because these are family members that never asked to be in a club that no one signed up for. We don't want this, we never asked for it. So listen to these names, and these are real. These are not names that we make up just to try to promote something or push your mind. These are real victims. They woke up in the morning, they started their day, and somehow they came in contact with law enforcement officers. Instead of them, if they were committing a crime, instead of them taking them to a detention center, letting them get an attorney and fight their way out, they decided to play judge, jury, and executioner on the spot. And these folks are no longer here. So let's be respectful and keep these family members of these loved ones that are on this horrible list nobody wants to be in. Let's keep them in prayer or thought. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. All right. So, as Bill said, it's a long list. It's about 21 people, victims of police brutality on this list, going back to July 11th. And so, on July 11th, 24 years old, Jonathan Balchunas.
Jonathan Balchunas.
Also on July 11th, 36-year-old Sean Thomas, Shiprock, New Mexico.
Sean Thomas.
On July 12th, we have an unidentified man. He was shot on July 12th in Ontario, California. In Escambia County, Florida, 22-year-old Johnny Ray Kirk.
Johnny Ray Kirk.
On July 13th, in Horizon City, Texas, 21-year-old Jesse Joe Carranza.
Jesse Joe Carranza.
July 16th, in Roswell, New Mexico, 64-year-old Craig Henson.
Craig Henson.
Also on July 16th, 51-year-old in Haley, Idaho, Dawn M. Simpson.
Dawn M. Simpson.
July 17th, in Savannah, Georgia, 36-year-old Maurice Centel Mency.
Maurice Centel Mency.
On July 17th, in Las Vegas, Nevada, 30-year-old Jeffrey Scott.
Jeffrey Scott.
July 17th, in Canton, Mississippi, his age is not known, Quentin Bogard.
Quentin Bogard.
On July 18th, in Malbus, Alabama, 35-year-old Clint Dearman.
Clint Dearman.
On July 18th, in Houston, Texas, this individual has not been identified, but we uplift the family of this victim. On July 19th, in Cairo, Georgia, 43-year-old Jason Frolic. In Toledo, Ohio, on July 19th, 50-year-old Michael Clifton.
Michael Clifton.
Michael Clifton.
On July 20th, in Salinas, California, 19-year-old Gerardo Martinez.
Gerardo Martinez.
On July 20th, in West Hanover Township, Pennsylvania, 35-year-old Mitchell Scholler.
Mitchell Scholler.
In Duncan, Oklahoma, July 22nd, 43-year-old Sean Tillerson.
Sean
Tillerson.
On July 22nd, in Bourne, Texas, 25-year-old Colin Condon.
Colin
Condon.
On July 22nd, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, this person is unidentified, but we lift his family up as they work to identify the victim of police brutality.
That's it.
On July 24th, in Boise, Idaho, this man has also not been identified, but we uplift his family.
That's it.
And finally, on July 25th, in Atlanta, Georgia, Gabriel Parker, 38 years old.
Gabriel Parker.
And that is the list of the victims of police brutality over the past couple of weeks. Please uplift the families and continue to fight for accountability for all the families. Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah.
And I want to say real fast. Can y'all hear me? Mic check.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to say real fast that even though no matter what the month is, that these killer cops, they kill us, but it's something, and I always say it's something about the bloody month of July. Not just because my brother was executed in July. Like, we want to go to nationalism, but it's something about the bloody month of July is when they really go and get it in. And it reminds me of how the term picnic was started. They would call it pick-a-nigger, even though excuse my language and whatever, but it is what it is. That's what the word picnic came from, pick-a-nigger, that they wanted to kill, lynch or whatever, and eat and enjoy as if they were watching a movie. So they're still picnicking, around America, and then it's just something about July. Maybe it's when, like, they call themselves Independence Day, I call it the 4th of July, where we supposed to became free and all this food, but it's something about the bloody month of July, and I think about, like we always say, every case matters, but I'm just calling out, like, you think about Sandra Bland, literally, Sandra Bland was actually going to Texas for a job. You go for a job, and all you doing is, okay, let me move out the way of this police car that's riding really fast, and then you get murdered, and they find you hanging in a jail cell. And it didn't stop at Sandra Bland, because there were 5 other black women murdered in detention centers in the bloody month of July that we still don't really say their names, but we know that there were 5 other women murdered at the same time as Sandra Bland. And my sister, Aja daughter, my sister Ishtar, her daughter's Aja. Aja was actually murdered not too far where Sandra Bland in a detention center. So let's be crystal clear. Then I think about Eric Gardner, where they choked him out on camera. All Eric Gardner was doing, and the media would have you believe, oh, Eric Gardner was selling loose cigarettes. No, at the time of Eric Gardner's execution, it wasn't a fight broke, an altercation. Like I said, it was an execution. The altercation, keep people get into it, they start fighting. No, it was an execution. All Eric Gardner was doing was breaking up a fight. If you go back to the original video that the young guy had started videoing before he knew that he was going to be, the world was going to be witnessing a murder of an unarmed man. So Eric Gardner was on this video, and the first thing you hear the witness say, oh my God, this guy just tried to blame, he just broke up a fight, and this is what they do. And that's all the key. So don't believe the television. The witness out his own mouth that was video, he ain't say, oh, this man just was selling a loose cigarette. They trying to get him for this petty crime. Because when has selling a loose cigarette become a death crime? You get the death penalty for a loose cigarette. But that wasn't even the case. The fact he was breaking up a fight, but Eric Gardner was executed in the bloody month of July. Philando Castile. You tell somebody in the open state, city where you can carry your weapon, and they pull up, and he's with his girlfriend in the car and things of that nature, and they say, oh, do you got a weapon? He said, oh, yeah, but let me show you, I got my permit. Oh, let me get your permit. And he goes, I'm getting my permit, and he get his brains blown out for the world to see. The bloody month of July. Let's be crystal clear about the bloody month at Alton Sterling. Nice young man, as they allegedly said, was supposed to be selling DVDs, but all we know, he was executed outside of a store that the store owners respected him. They knew him, they had a relationship, so whatever he was doing was all right with the store owners because they knew him. And it was to the point the police tried to go in there and intimidate the store owners. The store owners wasn't going for that foolishness. They're like, he was cool. They wanted the store owner to be like, oh, he was this, he was that, and they executed Alton Sterling in the bloody month of July. So I just want y'all, I said all this to say, they kill us all the time, doesn't matter what month, but watch next July. watch next July. Take careful notes how many executions around the world happened in the bloody month of July. They really do that.
Wanda,
Yeah.
can I add one more thing about July?
Sure.
Well, you know, July 4th is the celebration of U.S. independence from England. And before they waged that war for independence, the colonists got together and they had to figure out, do we have enough money to wage a war like this against England? And the richest man in all the colonies was Charles Carroll of Maryland. And they said, based on his wealth, they could wage that war, but all his wealth was from slavery. So the so-called independence was really the consummation of a huge slave system in the United States. It was based on that. So that's one more July thing.
Wow, thank you for shedding light on that. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate the knowledge. So, before we wrap up completely, Marcellus, just to check in, do we have any questions, comments, or anything?
Yes, we do. Angela says, Free Keith Davis Jr. Hold on, I'm going to my other window. And Smiley said, Keith Davis Jr. spent his 30th birthday in prison for a crime he didn't commit. That's a travesty. Mic check.
Mic check.
Check.
Nice. So again, and I apologize, guys, that we went over, because normally we go from literally 6:30 to 8 o'clock or sometime. But guess what? These issues sometimes go over, and we gotta keep this thing moving. So again, I want to thank each and every last one of you guys for tuning in. I want to also thank you in advance for sharing this. And if you haven't shared it, I appreciate it if you do share this. Like, share and share again. We need to have this spread all around the world, because guess what? These are not isolated incidents. So I'm praying not only for my city, because this is not a Baltimore City thing where, you know, statistically there's a lot of black and brown folks, you know, are getting murdered, and then you know, you got a couple Caucasians, but it's still human life. But it's mostly brown and black folks that are getting murdered, and that they're trying to reach this record-breaking number of 300 plus homicides at the end of the year. But meanwhile, these are loved ones. And then you got this police. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's called being connected to the highway of health. And like my sister Latoya said, she said, like, we're more than hashtags. I've been told y'all, and I'll say it again so my sister Queen can hear it. We are more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on a t-shirt. Our lives matter. It may not matter to the ones that are taking our life and then going to go smoke a cigarette or go join their family with laughter and cheer, like as if they didn't take a life. But it matters to the family members that you leave behind. They can't even breathe. They can't even hardly breathe, because you took something from a family that you could never get back. So on that note, I'm praying, guys, to see everybody. And this is real serious, that when you got families literally from around the world that are trying to go to DC to stand in solidarity. One purpose, one cause, one fight. And they're paying for their own something, though. Like, that's something, like, they actually have to raise up money. Like, we robbing Peter to pay Paul just in a pandemic, trying to survive, and everything is going up. Like, the price of gas, I don't know if y'all peeped it out or not. I'm tired of every 2 days putting $25, $30 in my tank, and it ain't doing nothing but get me to my job and bringing me back. Like, it's like everything, including food, including the air we breathe in, water, everything is going completely up. I don't know if you paying pandemic prices or not, but everything is going completely up. Like crab cakes, like that's like going out. I ain't even worried about that, but I'm talking about basic necessities, like stuff you need, like gas, water price, like everything is going up. So But I said all this to say, for the families to say, you know what, I know that we're in a pandemic. I know that, you know, money is funny, change is strange, but I'm going to be in D.C. If I got to get my church to support me, if I got to go into some of my bills, they're going to be there. And I'm just thanking the families in advance. And my biggest prayer that this is not the Doug and Pony show, because we done had enough. We're tired of people using our families, paying for their gain. If you're doing that, we don't want no parts of it. This pain is real. When you guys are sleeping at night, we're the ones not sleeping. So again, I want to give a big shout out and love to our sister Latoya. We love you, my queen, and we're here to support you. I want to give a big shout out and love to my sister Angela. We love you, and we're here to support you. I also want to give a big shout out to Brother Brock from Mass Action that's actually trying to, you know, do everything to get the families to come together with different coalition groups and say, you know what, the families come first. And that's what it's about. It's not about the activists. It's not about none of that. It's about the damn family. The families are the ones that have to deal with this pain. So again, shout out to the West Coalition. Shout out to my brother Ben. Just everybody, Hillary, Uncle Bill, just the whole entire West Coalition, running for justice. Miss Smoke, Marcellus, like shout out to all of y'all. Shut them down, Shorty, JC, like everybody. We love you guys. Remember, live to love, love to live, and remember, free to keep David Jr. And also, even though I don't support like the people that are like some of the people that's trying to surround themselves around Kareem Gaines, because I know half of them are poverty pimps. But guess what? I support my queen, Rhonda, and I definitely truly support her baby, Kareem Gaines, because what they did to Kareem Gaines was bloody murder. And the fact that the court said, give the family their money, even though it's not about all the money in the world can't bring our loved ones back. And we know this, and we know that it's not about the income, it's about the outcome. But this is the blatant truth that the sentence, the thing, they try to take the money back, and then the higher court said, you know what, give that family the money. That's their money, give it to them, and they still not giving it back. And then now we got Jay Wendell Gordon trying to do all he can do to keep saying Kareem Gaines' name. You know, keeping her name in the spotlight where it needs to be. So just keep Kareem Gaines family in prayers and thoughts. If any actions happen, you can go and support them, even if you can send like kind words to my sister Rhonda, because her baby was executed, y'all. And not only did they execute Kareem Gaines, they tried to kill her baby. Please keep my sister Gina in prayers, y'all. Her daughter India, someone that fought for a murder cop, a vet, a beautiful vet, a beautiful queen. The mother of two was executed, and these killer cops, they couldn't even wait. They tried to execute the whole family. They killed the father and left these kids an orphan. Like, that is like, who does that? You could not wait, and then you kill them. So when we think about 7-Eleven, we think about, oh, I want a Slurpee or a nice treat. If Gina hears the word 7-Eleven, that's traumatizing her, because her baby was executed right there at a 7-Eleven. You couldn't even wait till this queen exit, and you knew, the fact you knew that she had her babies in the backseat of that damn car, and you left her children scarred. It's just so sad. And if you guys don't know what happened to India Kager, please look up her name. Please send love to Gina Bass, who is a warrior mom, a warrior grandmother that's fighting not only to uplift her baby India's name, but she's fighting to get her grandbabies and everything and to keep them safe. We don't know what somebody's struggling with. This woman never asked, and this is a businesswoman. You know, a very smart and intelligent. This lady, I'm telling you, if she didn't go through this trauma, I would ask her to represent me and be my attorney. She speaks elegantly and everything. You know, articulates everything, and she's so smart. Not only is she beautiful on the outside, but she's beautiful on the inside. But to have to lift through the pain of knowing your daughter was executed by some damn killer cops in Virginia Beach. Oh, so we definitely need to keep on fighting, never give this fight up, this fight to the end. And remember, live to love, love to live, and remember, The same way we brought you in with the video of what happened to my poor brother, Tyrone West, and the victims. Keep those victim families in prayer and watch this victim, and most importantly, demand accountability, not just for my brother Tyrone West, but for Xavier, demanding for Timothy, Keith Davis Jr., the list goes on for all our babies, for Anthony Anderson, for all of our babies, for everybody. Like, we need accountability right now. So we can't stop, we won't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
Mr. Jesse, back the fuck up. No.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.